So let me welcome all of you. We have a nice long program today. I appreciate that all of you are coming and are here to participate when we celebrate the World Quantum Day. And let's dig right in because we have a long list of speakers and very interesting projects to look forward to. Let me give you a short introduction first. Can you see my screen? My slides? I hope you can see it.
Yes.
I wanted to share some news with you on upcoming events that we have that are quantum related in Work Package 6. The next event will be April 26th. We have a network technologies workshop and you can already register for it. It will be a virtual event, and Piotr Rydlichowski of our task will talk about quantum technology and standardization. And of course, you will also hear about our other subtasks, optical time and frequency networks, and rare router for academia, research, and education. Another quantum event that may be of interest to you will be Quantum Solutions on June 21st. We will have a number of vendors that will be presenting their products and their quantum portfolios, and this should also be a very interesting event. You can already register for it, but the agenda is still work in progress. Then, of course, we have the open quantum group meetings that we have once a month, and I would like to invite you to them. They usually take place on the first Friday of every month. This week, it's actually today as well at 2 o'clock. It's a loose discussion group where you can share the projects that you do and the things that you are working on. And please, somebody has the mic open. Could you mute your mic? You can find all this information on our wiki, on our net development wiki, netdev/QT for quantum technology. And we started a new training series on quantum technology. We have a first learning unit out. It's a teaser unit with the basic qubits definition, but more classes will follow. And you can also find the link if you download this PDF from the agenda, or if you go to the website, you can find the links and take the class that Peter Kaufman started. And of course, you can always join us in our quantum discussion list. So I would say let's go to our agenda and start with Piotr. The way we will do it is we will have the speakers present. 10 minutes is a short time. So if you have questions, if there's time left during the 10 minutes, we can take the question right then and there. But we do have a whole block reserved at the end where you can ask questions. So just write your questions into the chat and we can address it at the very end. So I would say, Piotr, let's start with your presentation then.
Yeah, hello everyone. Thank you, Susanne, for kind presentation. So I will start with a few words regarding the initiatives. Let me share the, yeah, thanks. So I would like to start with a few words regarding EuroQCI and EuroQCS initiatives, and which are designed to establish our research infrastructures in terms of quantum communication and quantum computing. So basic few words, all the materials you can find here are available on the European Commission websites and documents. So I really highly encourage to deep further into these materials because they are really interesting. In terms of the quantum technologies, so the way that the program and the research is structured from the European Commission point of view, is to have independent tracks, independent areas for different types of technologies. So it was divided to 4 different areas. So quantum communication, quantum simulation, quantum sensing, and quantum computing. All these 4 elements are, of course, connected with each other, because the development in each of these areas cannot progress without the advancement in the other areas. So that's why those 4 key areas really need to be tightly connected with each other. And this is the what is believed the optimal way to try to achieve the progress in this area. So a few years ago, the strategy documents, they defined some milestones and the elements that need to be achieved to progress to the further steps. And these are like quantum communication, intercity links, metro links. And these goals are also divided into short, middle, and long-term areas. So now to the basic. So if you look at the best way to look at the whole agenda is so-called strategic research agenda for the quantum flagship and the quantum programs in Europe that are right now conducted at the Horizon Europe, which started 2020 in the year 2021 and will last until 2027. And we have several areas and several key topics regarding the research. All these elements are, you can find the document, and from the high level area, see the challenges. But the most important elements that I would like to show here is that the goal is to establish 3 different kinds of infrastructures, research infrastructure that should allow the researchers to advance and to try to implement these technologies in the operational and real environment. So it is quantum sensing and metrology infrastructure, EuroQSM, quantum communication, EuroQCI, and quantum computing and simulation, which is EuroQCS. They have more or less the same timelines, with a little bit exception of EuroQSM that will progress a little bit later. But EuroQCI and EuroQCS, they just started this year, at the end of last year, this year. And the goal is to establish research elements, research infrastructure for these kind of technologies. Of course, at the moment, we have a limited number of use cases and practical applications. But the way it is designed is to at least lay the foundations to build this infrastructure and progress in terms of the use cases and applications. So I will start quickly with EuroQCI. So the idea is, it was started in 2019 when the all member states signed agreement that they will build jointly, participate in the EuroQCI initiative, and will build national and international quantum communication infrastructure based on the research program that are not conducted both on the EC level and on the national level. And as you can see, all the member states signed the most of the member states joined at the first stage of this initiative, and the projects were submitted and actually started at the beginning of this year, and we will hear more about them in the next presentation. Of course, the general quantum communication idea is still very very far away, I would say, topic. So general quantum communication, but we need to start, the idea is to start with the use cases and applications that we have at the moment. So one of the examples is the quantum key distribution technology, which is using the quantum channel and the technology of QKD technology to generate and transmit the keys that can be used, for example, for encryption or other purposes such as authentication. And the way it is structured, the EuroQCI is structured. If you see at the document on the EC website, you can see a concept of operations document, and the basic idea is to establish the national QCIs, so the national quantum communication infrastructures, which will gather and help to develop the technologies on a national level. So each national QCI infrastructure is independent. They use different technology. They can focus on different use cases. But the way is to gather the local national environment and all the users that are interested to develop it. And on the next stage, the idea is to interconnect these infrastructures using terrestrial links, optical fibers, and the space link. It's a separate track, separate project, which is run by the European Space Agency, connected with the satellite quantum communication. And at the end, as a whole, when these elements would align together, because these projects are just started, so we will most probably will be able to interconnect all these QCIs, national QCIs, the users, the services that are run, and the concept that should be developed further within this program. Within the idea, we have several elements such as security center and the operations center, but these are, let's say, more or less in line with the national QCI and depend on the implementation from the national level. So this is the basic idea, and from the quantum computing point of view, there is a separate initiative with European Quantum Computing and Simulation Infrastructure, and the base document that describes the ideas, which technologies, which elements should be developed and should be implemented in the practical and operational environment, are described also in the EuroQCS document, which is also very interesting. The general idea is to try to implement the existing technology, quantum computing technology, in the existing HPC environment, and to allow to further advance these technologies, because of course, quantum computing is still at the very early stage of development, but in order to progress and in order to allow broader community and of the users to access it, it's good to establish different kind of physical implementations, different ideas how to implement this kind of quantum computing infrastructure, and integrated with existing HPC, high performance computing environment, and to allow access to this kind of infrastructure, and on one way, and on the other way, allow to hybrid solutions. So the solutions that use existing HPC solutions and services, and the quantum computing solutions. Because we know that the quantum computer, of course, will not be perfect to be used in all the use cases. They are good in specific, at least at the moment, in a specific types of use cases and applications. And so under the umbrella of EuroHPC, so the initiative that gathers different kind of high performance computing resources in Europe, which are also constantly updated on the website. So each of these infrastructure will be accompanied by quantum computing research infrastructure, so different kind of physical implementations. And just last year, at the end of last year, we had finally the announcement from the European Commission, and they've selected 6 sites within the European Commission that will host this kind of quantum computing infrastructure. different physical implementations and different physical technologies. And under one umbrella, under the one EuroHPC umbrella, all these resources will be available to the users. So they could test, and they will be able to test different kind of quantum computing systems on one way, and on the other way, they will be able to also work with the hybrid solutions. So the solutions that will take the advantage of both classical resources and the quantum computing resources, due to some different applications that, as I mentioned, some of the applications are better to be simply implemented on the classical infrastructures. Yeah, so that was my just a few quick words about those two infrastructures that will be heavily implemented, heavily researched, I would say, in the next few years' times. Yeah, so I think we have short time for quick questions if there is any. Thank you.
Thank you, Piotr. Very interesting. Yes, we do have time for one question, actually, if there is a question. Doesn't seem to be the case, so thank you again for your presentation. And if anybody else has a question for later, just type it in the chat, please, and we can address it later. So next on the agenda is Karel from GÉANT, and he has some very interesting tests he did to present to us. Please, Karel, go ahead.
Yes.
We can see your slides.
Thank you. And thanks for the introduction. And that's right. Over the past year, I would say, most of 2022, I did an internship at GÉANT. And as a part of this internship, I was tasked to write up my thesis. And in my case, it was on the applicability and the performance of quantum key distribution in the GÉANT network as it stands currently. As Piotr already mentioned in his presentation, quantum key distribution is the practice where we use quantum technologies to create keys that are theoretically perfectly secure in an ideal setup. And we will need some way of exchanging these keys across the network. So one of these methods is by making use of optical fibers that are already running through all of Europe, as we all know. And I've been doing some research on how well we would be able to use the fibers that are in the network currently and what would be possible right now. So the performance of QKD was tested in a lab setup. I'll show some more pictures of that later. And we made a performance evaluation of the expected performance of what QKD in the GÉANT network could look like. And we make a comparison between both multiplex performance, so where we have data waves and quantum key distribution waves and traffic reside on the same fiber on a shared medium, and also the case where QKD is performed on a dedicated dark fiber to give a somewhat realistic comparison of potential results. So for the experiments that we performed, first we look at QKD in the C-band and then have no data waves present. And this serves as a sort of baseline reading, if you will. And then we move on where we perform QKD in the O-band. So that is at 1310 nanometers. And we have at the same time one or more data waves in the C-band at 1550 nanometers. And this is done because the data waves in the C-band, that is also how we run the network at GÉANT. So that will allow for a nice comparison. To look at the results that we have, we look at both the secret key rate, and we also look at the quantum bit error rate, which in a very broad sense could be interpreted as a sense of quality of the link, if you will. And next to that, we also look at the maximum level of attenuation we can sustain as to investigate any potential performance in the current network, and also look at which links would be, on which links it would be possible to deploy QKD in the network. And then on the right, a picture of our lab setup, which is always nice. On the right side, there's two rectangles highlighted in red. On the top, it's less high tech. It's the way we use to induce these different levels of attenuation. It's a large box with a long fiber spool and some variable optical attenuators. And then on the bottom, we have the equipment that we used. So we have two boxes there, Alice and Bob, of course. And these two boxes is where between which we perform QKD. So for the lab setup as a general diagram, we show the experimental setup of multiple data waves being introduced in the C band and performing QKD in the O band. And for the QKD experiments without data, QKD is performed in the C band. Attenuation is introduced with these optical fiber spools in the VOAs, and these are labeled at C and D. And generated key material is then extracted from the two QKD boxes that we have at labels A and B. And at these two servers, we can use quantum secure keys to encrypt data and transmit that between those two servers. So when we move to our results, we start off with let's first look at a single data wave compared to no data. So in gray, there is the baseline reading of having no data wave present, and then then we introduce a single data wave at either 0 dBm and then at a transmission power of +3 dBm, and we see no significant impact on the performance, both in regards of the secret key rate and the quantum bit error rate. And however, in this single data wave setup, we have the transmission power only go up to +3 dBm, which is not quite close to what we see in real life. So as a result, we also moved on to two data waves, which allowed for much higher power or much higher power levels for transmission of these data waves. So on the left, we go up to +15 dBm, and on the right, even up to +17.8 dBm, which is quite a realistic estimate of what we have out there in the real world, if you will. However, at these multiple data waves, we do have and we do observe a visible impact on both the secret key rate, as you can see on the left, and the quantum bit error rate you can see on the right. While still at manageable levels, it is something to definitely keep in mind that this is the case right now. And we also find that the maximum level of attenuation that could be sustained is 23.5 decibels, and this is a number that will tap into the study that we performed on the applicability of QKD in the GÉANT network. So for this feasibility of the implementation, we translate this knowledge into the current GÉANT network, and we look at the following solutions. Ideally, we multiplex QKD and data on a shared fiber, which allows us to use any of the fiber links that are already in the network right now. Otherwise, we would have to perform QKD on a dark fiber, and that would allow for QKD to be performed in the C band, as we have a lower level of attenuation per kilometer compared to the O band, if we were to multiplex QKD and data on the same medium. And now, if all else fails, if even on a dark fiber we would be unable to perform QKD, we would have to rely on alternative approaches such as free space QKD, satellite-based approaches, or we would have to wait for newer and better equipment to become available. Now, when we talk numbers, when looking at the current network, we could potentially cover approximately 30% of the network when multiplexing QKD and data on the same fiber, and approximately 90% when making use of dedicated dark fiber capacity. However, for the sake of completion, we also investigated the implementation of QKD on the Western Ring only, as that is the part of the network where we would expect demand to be the highest, as it is also the part of the network where we see the highest levels of traffic. And for this, the percentages are quite comparable. Only in the multiplexed approach, the potential percentage drops from 30% to 23%. And on the right, there is a map that showcases the different link spans. Now, the link spans that are shown in green, I hope this is visible over Zoom, by the way. The link spans that are highlighted in green, these would be the link spans where it is possible, hopefully, to multiplex QKD and data on the same fiber. In the link spans highlighted on orange, we would have to rely on dark fiber capacity. And the ones in red are at such a high level of attenuation, we would need an alternative approach to this. Especially interesting, we found that the two links that seem to be quite problematic are the two links that cross the English Channel, either from the UK into France or from the UK into the Netherlands, where we have such astronomically high levels of attenuation. We would almost definitely need an alternative approach, such as either satellite-based or some other form of free space QKD. And those are the results that we found. So to conclude, we gained some very valuable knowledge and insight in the performance of commercially available QKD equipment. And we find that multiplexing is an option, and it was shown to be possible with optical equipment in use in the current GÉANT network. And that's all I have for today. Thank you. If you have any questions, please post them in the chat. You can reach out to me in any way you see fit. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Karel. We do have time for one question. I don't see one, but I do have a short question. That stretch, that undersea stretch from Paris to London too, do you know how many kilometers that would be? I mean, the shortest one.
In decibels, I would be able to look that up for you. It's not a number I know from the top of my head. In kilometers, I am even less sure on what the exact length of that link would be physically.
It seems short, but yeah, it's undersea. So okay, so thank you very much. Very interesting talk. Let us now go to the next one, which is Marija Emšo, and she will talk about a new project in Croatia and CARNET. Marija, please go ahead.
So, hello everyone. As Susanne mentioned, my name is Marija Emšo, and I'm a core network engineer in the Network Infrastructure Department of the Croatian Academic and Research Network. And today I will give you a general overview of the CroQCI project. So, as Piotr mentioned, EuroQCI will be a secure quantum communication infrastructure that is spanning the whole EU. The first implementing phase of the EuroQCI is supported by the Commission's Digital Europe program. One of the focus areas of the first phase are national projects, and Croatia's national project is CroQCI. So what is actually CroQCI? The full name of the project is Croatian Quantum Communication Infrastructure. The project duration is 30 months, and it has started on January the 1st, 2023, and it will end at the end of June 2025. The project involves 9 partners from different institutions and universities. The Croatian Academic and Research Network is, as well as a leader of some work packages, the coordinator between these beneficiaries. The experts from different fields from these organizations have teamed up in a total of 8 work packages. Work package 1 is responsible for the building of blocks for quantum communication. Work package 2, of which I am part of, is responsible for the network architecture design and implementation. Work package 3 is managing the space component and space connectivity. Work package 5 is responsible for the development of a key management KMS system and the application of use cases. Work package 6 is covering the education of the general public, while work package 7 is responsible for the communication project visibility. Work package 8 is in charge of the project management and coordination between different work packages. So what are the actual objectives of our project? One is setting up and piloting the deployment of experimental quantum systems and communication networks, complemented and integrated with classical security technologies, as well as building and testing devices and systems combining quantum, post-quantum, classical, and quantum-enhanced solutions. This includes the building and testing of entangled photon sources, receiving modules for nodes, and hardware encryptors for QKD network. The integration of these building blocks for quantum communication at a system level, their testing in a lab, and final field deploy and testing, as well as the demonstration of atomic clock synchronization and quantum memories in tabletop experiments. Another objective is creating a QCI network architecture design, which means developing a detailed QCI network architecture design for project use cases and assuring its interoperability with the EuroQCI, as well as establishing a simulation environment for QCI network design testing and validation, as well as preparation of collocation spaces to host the actual QCI equipment. Other objectives are the composing of terrestrial-based solutions while showing fulfillment of the preconditions for the space component. This means the formation of a dark fiber-based terrestrial network communication infrastructure and assuring infrastructure preconditions and locations arrangements for the development of the optical ground OGT terminal. The designing, building up, and equipment of the OGT for the national QKD. Another objective is the education that will comply with the maturity of the technology, current and future needs. This means the rising of cybersecurity awareness, the setting up of a virtual learning environment for education and training on CroQCI network and services that are based on it. Another objective is the deployment of a system for the management of secret keys, KMS, and developing crypto agility. And of course, the testing of project use cases, which I will cover later. So the project objectives will hopefully allow different work packages to produce defined deliverables. These are the deliverables that are set within the project. So work package 1 will give a demonstration of entanglement-based QKD in the CroQCI network, as well as create a report on the readiness of experimental system for atomic clock synchronization and quantum memory for use in the CroQCI network. Work package 2 will create a QCI architecture proposal and network design. The design network will be then simulated, validated, and finally implemented. Work package 2 will also produce a QCI nodes management model. Work package 3 will write a report on the established terrestrial optical communication infrastructure and on established collocation spaces. Work package 4 will define the OGT location and its main component, as well as hopefully build a OGT prototype. Work package 5 will write a KMS and use cases report, while work package 6 will write a report on the CroQCI VELE and create a CroQCI education and training plan. Work package 7 will create a communication, dissemination, and exploitation activity plan, as well as organized events and supporting actions. Work package 8 is responsible for continuous and periodic reporting. It will also create a gap analysis for alignment with the security baseline and write a report on participation to the EuroQCI initiative and on the collaboration with other digital projects. As I mentioned before, the use cases we have within our project are 4. The first one is the enhancing the distributed storage security. This means deploying a storage system. This means deploying a storage system distributed over multiple Croatian scientific and educational cloud data centers. Utilize QKD and crypto agility for secure communication between storage servers and verify such a solution. The second use case is the atomic clock synchronization, which means the development, testing, and validation of protocols for synchronization of atomic clocks in the CroQCI network. Using the CroQCI network to transfer highly stable frequency of an optical atomic clock, which is already hosted in the Institute of Physics in Zagreb, to CroQCI network nodes. The third use case is the space segment, which will be responsible for validating the operation of the OGT performed by manufacturers or the provider of the OGT solution. This will enable the QCI deployed within the CroQCI project to be ready to participate in future events and projects that will involve a space communication component. The fourth use case is the vulnerability reports delivery, which includes the deploying of a secure delivery of vulnerability reports through encrypted links or through crypto agility mechanisms that will be deployed within the project. Thank you very much for your attention. Here is my email address if you have any questions. I would just like to mention that this presentation was reviewed and approved for sharing by the European Project Officer. So if you have any specific question about this project, I will kindly ask you to email me at this address so I can double check with the project team leads and if needed with the project officer if the information you want to can be shared with the general public. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Marija. We couldn't see your email in the last. Oh, here we see it. Thank you very much. And also, I think you have very interesting use cases in your project.
Yeah, there are just 4, but they are interesting. Yes.
We have one question by Peter Hinrich. Why did you choose these particular use cases, and do you have potential users for them?
Yes, the first one is something that is interesting to the HERZO project within Croatia, which includes remote data centers. So this kind of enhanced distributed storage security would be interested to them. Atomic clock synchronization is something that is interesting to the participant Institute of Physics of Zagreb that already has an atomic clock. And the space segment is something that is interesting to another partner, which is the Faculty of Engineering and Informatics of Zagreb, which has a collegium that is covering this kind of stuff. So it's interesting for them to give students an opportunity to work on something. And vulnerability reports delivery is actually something that CARNET does on a regular basis. So we provide partners and institutions with the vulnerability reports. So we're thinking of improving these reports and their security. So yes, we have users for every of this use case.
Okay, thank you very much.
Your question.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay, so thanks again. Let's now go to the next one. The next one will be presented by Teodor Strömberg from SURF, and he will give us an overview of quantum activities in SURF. Please go ahead, Teodor.
All right.
Yes, we can
Can you
see
still
the slides.
see my
Yeah,
screen?
Perfectly, yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, so my name, thank you for the introduction. My name is Teodor Strömberg. I work as an advisor for quantum communication at SURF here in the Netherlands. And I want to just give you a very broad overview of some of the different quantum related activities that we are pursuing. So here in the background, I just have a picture of some classical networking equipment because at its heart, SURF is a network operator, but part of being a network operator in this day is also providing cloud services. So similar to PSNC, we heard from earlier, we also operate an HPC center. So it's natural for us to be interested in both quantum communication and quantum computation. So on the quantum computing side, our goal is to provide value to our members. Basically, we want to do things that are useful for them because they are funding us. And one of the ways that we think we can do that is by giving researchers access to both simulated and real quantum hardware. And also another important role that we think we can play is to develop an understanding of how to map existing tools and expertise that scientists make use of currently, and how to map them onto quantum hardware and quantum applications. And part of this is also to stimulate the development and support the development of new algorithms and methods that are applicable to science. And all of this is, of course, with a goal in mind to support Dutch researchers and to make sure that they have access to and also the skills and knowledge to take advantage of quantum hardware once it actually becomes relevant to their work, maybe in the next decade or so. So there's a bit of knowledge transfer there as well. So as a concrete example of one of the quantum computing projects we're doing, we recently launched this pilot project where we're giving both students and researchers access to simulated and real quantum hardware. So in this case, it's not our hardware. We're essentially just providing a nice front end for these people to use so they can use their existing login credentials and so on. And through this pilot program, you can get access to all the big quantum hardware providers like IBM, Rigetti, IonQ, and so on. And the goal of this is really just to make these existing resources more accessible to our students and researchers. And so far, the response to this has been quite positive. And as I said, we're also working in quantum communication. And here, I think one of the main roles that we play is to ensure that our members going forward can be quantum safe, if they choose to be, right? So we don't know when public-private key cryptography gets broken, but when it does, we want to ensure that our members are not vulnerable. And part of that is also communicating this to them, that this threat exists, and understanding whether or not they would need to be quantum safe. And more broadly, for quantum communication technologies in general, we need to, like similar to quantum computation, we need to develop better understanding of what the use cases are, in our case, specifically for scientific applications. And then also, since we are a network operator, one of the things that's important for us is to gain experience about how to integrate these technologies into our existing network. So this actually applies to the quantum computing as well, how to integrate quantum computers with HPC, but also with the quantum communication equipment, because it will be side by side with the classical communication equipment. And more long term, we also think we have a role to play in supporting research into the future quantum internet architectures, because there are a lot of open questions there, and in the end, an organization like ours might be the ones operating a quantum network, and we think we have can give useful input into the design or proposed designs for these networks. So within quantum communication, we are involved in 2 EU projects. So one of them is like the second version of the Quantum Internet Alliance. So it's a long-running EU project, I think for 7 years. It just started. And the goal of this project is to develop a pan-European prototype, let's say, quantum internet, really entanglement-based network. And within this project, SURF is responsible. We are the leader of the one work package. Actually, Peter, who spoke up earlier in the questions, he's here. He's the leader of the work package in case you have questions for him. So we are responsible for the use case work package in this case. And right now we are working together with mostly academics who are also part of the consortium to understand how the somehow known technical possibilities of these, or the future technological possibilities can be mapped onto applications. But going forward, we also want to talk more, let's say, with the researchers, industries, and then like users, and understand actually how these capabilities can be useful for them and be turned into really concrete use cases for the technology. And we are also involved in the second EU project, which is the Dutch EuroQCI project, QCI-NED, where we are also responsible for a work package. And here our goal is to deploy a development QKD network within Utrecht, which is where SURF is headquartered in the Netherlands. So at the moment, we don't have any hardware yet, but as part of preparing for deploying this hardware, we're working on really figuring out how a QKD service would look like instead of making it more concrete. And we're also doing a lot of work on understanding how to integrate this equipment in our existing network and with the existing management architectures that exist for the traffic and the fibers and all this stuff. And as part of the procuring equipment, we're talking to a lot of vendors, and I think we're having some valuable discussions there, because these early quantum startups, they don't, they're still just coming out of the lab, basically. So as a real network operator, I think we have a lot of useful input to give to them that they can take in the development of their next generation of hardware, because we have requirements that maybe they haven't anticipated and so on. So yeah, that's the end of my presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. It certainly looks like you have a lot of interesting work and tests ahead of you, and it's going to be interesting to see the outcome and the result. Any questions? I see nothing in the chat. Doesn't seem to be the case at the moment. If you do have another question, please just put it in the chat and we can get to it at the end. So thank you again, Teodor.
Thank you.
Let's now go to our next speaker, which is Eoin Kenny from HEAnet. And he will talk about quantum activities in Ireland.
Good morning, all. Thanks very much for the invite. And I should just firstly apologize just for using American format for the date, but I thought since it's World Quantum Day, and I'm sure everyone knows that the World Quantum Day is on the 14th of April because of the Planck's constant and 4th to the 14th, but you'll have to forgive me for, I suppose it's the one day of the year I can use the American format in without upsetting myself, but there you go. But no, I just want to give a quick update on EuroQCI progress in Ireland. Just to say, I suppose, Ireland QCI anyway is the Irish implementation. It's our EuroQCI project. It's just how we christened it. It's I suppose, I'm sure plenty of people have talked about EuroQCI at the moment, but it includes all 27 European member states at this stage, which is great that everyone is involved. I was going to say, in Ireland, I think we have something like, I think it's something like 16 different organizations and over 30 people. We also have our friends in PSNC and GRNET are also contributing. So there's fiber providers, there's several different universities, research centers. So it's a very large collaboration, the entire project. So it's great to see. But it's unusual, I suppose, for HEAnet to be involved in such a project, because usually where the HEAnet is the research and education network. So usually we're very much providing education research services, so the network infrastructure and so forth. And EuroQCI and Ireland QCI is very much also includes a lot of research and cooperation with the research community within Ireland, which is unusual for us, but it's a great new development, really. Just to say that the project, anyway, in Ireland, it's actually a 10 million euro project over the 30 months. So we went for the full 5 million euro from the EU and 5 million euro from our Department of Communications. So we have, so it's a large sum of money and a large project for us to be involved in. I think I particularly like this map, or this picture. I know it might look awful for many of you, but it does very much sum up our project in Ireland from beginning to end over the 30 months. There's a bottom line there. I know it's a busy slide, but it kind of just sums up the entire project. But we've many use cases. I think we've something like 40 use cases and in several different categories. What I particularly like about this slide is that it kind of categorizes things into technology readiness levels. So starting on the left-hand side, we have TRL 9, which is very much commercial QKD type systems. We're very much coming to this late, so we're very much starting at the beginning. While I know there's been a lot of there's even commercial QKD solutions out there. In Ireland, we've had no experience of this, so that's where we're starting from. So we have a bit of catch up to do, so that's very much why we're going to start there. But we very much want to move quickly into MD, QKD, entanglement, and so forth, and into different technology readiness levels of equipment. So not so mature stuff. And then finally, we're very much want to move towards what we have there is just quantum internet ready. So this is sort of like TRL level 3 things. So we have actually different research groups who can do this sort of packaging of atomics and who are interested in working at that particular level. So it covers everything from production to things that are very much research equipment as we see it today. So let's just move on a little bit, just to, I suppose, just draw out particular, just say on the initial ones on the QKD, systems that we all, are quite familiar with at this stage. So what we want to do is we want to get to, a different point-to-point QKD systems, just using off-the-shelf equipment, using DWDM, try and do coexistence with our DWDM, stuff like that. So we have our classical and our quantum channels, and we fiber from a fiber provider that'll be in parallel with some HEAnet fiber. So we'll be able to keep the classical and the quantum networks side by side. So that should be quite interesting. That's where we're actually working on at the moment. So we have most of the fiber in place, and we're currently ordering equipment for this at the moment. We also very much want to do, IPsec, MACsec, and this sort of things, and key management systems, and learn from that. And HEAnet is very much involved at this particular part of the project, because this is the sort of thing we want to be able to do. We want to be able to provide, come up with SLAs, understand how we can provide these type of services to our clients, and to not just our clients, but there's also industry and government involved. So we also have to try and do demonstrations and help those as well. So this is just give you, for those of you who know some Irish geography, we mainly just have 3 particular sites, which is Dublin, Waterford, and Cork. And these are, there's, I think it's about 120 and over 100 kilometers between these spans. So these are the main 3 sites, and we have research labs in each of these. So I will start with just using traditional QKD type equipment. We'll quickly move on to connecting those labs. So this is just, as you all know, nothing surprising about this, but this is just, one of the first type of examples that we want to show. I'm sure everyone else has shown it, and many people have done before, but it's for us to learn and to work out how to provide these sort of production type services. We were just looking at using some ID Quantique and some ADVA equipment to do that. So where I suppose it gets a bit more researching, a bit more interesting, very much is when you start using external detectors and things like this. We have some demonstrations and some equipment, and there's been some demonstrations already shown, and we want to try and repeat them. I was going to say, there's simply what we want to do is at those 3 locations in Dublin, Waterford, and Cork, we want to test these a bit further. I was going to say this is an example of a prepare and measure. This is superconducting nanowire single photon detectors, and ID Quantique have some of these that we can look at. This was a test that was done in Geneva, and I think they managed to do 420 kilometers with a single span. This is the work of Baron, and there's a link there to this particular work. This is something that particularly interests our I suppose, our research people, and they'd like to be able to replicate that and do it between the labs that are in Dublin, Waterford, and Cork. We also want to do MD-QKD stuff, and we're looking at building little metros in Dublin, Waterford, and Cork, and then interconnecting the 3 of them. MDI-QKD, this is measurement dependent. Independent QKD is a lot of work that came out of the Netherlands with QTech and TU Delft. They basically have center nodes and end nodes. The center nodes are a lot more expensive and use a lot of these different detectors, but they can do multi-photon detectors type thing at the center. The concept is that the center is quite expensive, and it's the endpoints aren't. So you can add more endpoints without changing the cost too much. So we're quite interested in trying this as well. So we kind of have 3 little test nodes kind of shown up. These are the 3 cities of Dublin, Waterford, and Cork. So with a few different point-to-point scenarios that we're looking at here, and then interconnecting the 3 of these together. And then finally, this is the more expensive part of our project, I suppose. In Dublin, Waterford, and Cork, we'll have cryogenic stations, and this is where the researchers will be able to actually do. They're trying to demonstrate anyway entanglement and so forth, and trying to come up with quantum memories and quantum repeaters. So my understanding is that all this can be done. We have a photonic integration lab that's down in Cork, and they can do an awful lot of the packaging and this sort of thing for us down there. So they believe that a lot of this sort of work can be done and can be achieved. So that's where it kind of gets a bit more interesting, and I suppose takes you on the roadmap from, I suppose, just qubits at the beginning to and quantum communications up to quantum internet. So that'll be present as that goes. And I think, yeah, was my last slide. So hopefully I'll see you, many of you at PSNC in Tirana. So unless anyone's any questions.
Thank you very much, Eoin. Yeah, are there any questions at the moment? I don't see anything in the chat. If not, I do have one small question. You mentioned SLAs and that you're trying to figure out how to have SLAs for quantum communication. Are you also considering, or are you using time and frequency services in order to be able to establish SLAs?
Yeah, no, not time and frequency, but one that one of the problems that I've been looking at is that with SLAs, you know, with QKD, you've no idea if it's working or not, and really you have to monitor the fiber to ensure, like, if QKD, if you stop exchanging photons, at what point, you know, do you eventually just run out of keys? You know, it could be days later, before you realize. And one of the things I was just looking at was just you know, using ODTR type, you know, permanent ODTR type things to monitor the fiber, the QKD fiber, you know, as a way to try and early diagnose if QKD is or is not working. But it's an interesting one, because how do you provide an SLA to someone if you can't, you know, you don't really know if you know, QKD is working at all.
Yeah, that is very true. Yes, that's going to be very interesting work as well, and a very nice testbed that you're planning and setting up. Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Then if there are no other questions at the moment, let's go to our next speaker, Ilias Papastamatiou from GRNET, and he will talk about HellasQCI, the latest project there. Okay, now, yeah, we see your slides.
Okay, great.
And we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay, so hi everybody, I'm Ilias Papastamatiou, project manager at GRNET and coordinator of the HellasQCI project, the project that builds the national quantum communication infrastructure of Greece. This event now is very well established, and it is always very timely. I would like to congratulate the GÉANT team for hosting this year also the event and gave us the opportunity to celebrate together the World Quantum Day. It is a very good occasion to exchange information and expertise on the quantum technologies and foster the cooperation and synergies between our NRENs. Unfortunately, as Susanne knows, for Greece this year, the Quantum Day coincides with Good Friday. In any case, it is a recorded event, and the Greek community that was very interested in following this Infoshare will be able to watch it later at their convenience. Without further ado, let's begin with the EuroQCI status in my country. As you heard from Piotr's, Marija's, and Eoin's presentation about EuroQCI, I would like to add that in June 2019, all the 27 EU member states have signed the EuroQCI declaration, signaling their commitment to the EuroQCI initiative and to work together with the European Commission and the European Space Agency to deploy the EuroQCI and boost Europe's scientific and technological capabilities in cybersecurity and quantum technologies. The Ministry of Digital Transformation signed on behalf of Greece the EuroQCI declaration, and following this signature and the accession to the EuroQCI initiative, the need for developing an experimental national quantum communication infrastructure became part of the official digital transformation strategy of Greece that it is valid until 2025. Let's see now how GRNET, the NREN of Greece, is involved in the EuroQCI and became the coordinator of the HellasQCI. GRNET, since August 2019, operates under the auspices of the Ministry of Digital Governments, and there are two laws that constitute GRNET the coordinator of all digital infrastructure for education and research, and the national representative of the research and technological community in the EU, and the manager of the governmental cloud for research and education. Following the connection of GRNET to the Ministry of Digital Governance, these laws, and the national-wide fiber optics network that we have, GRNET has been appointed in October 2021 by the Ministry to participate to the EuroQCI Sherpa meetings and also be the responsible entity for the DEP and the CEF national proposals coordination and submission. And the Digital for Europe program, the DEP call on EuroQCI, the second topic, was the first proposal that has to be prepared for the EuroQCI by GRNET. We had only a few months, as all the others, to prepare from scratch a national proposal that would align both the national and the European QCI strategies. And we succeeded. The HellasQCI was born after a great effort to create a solid proposal and a consortium that would be able to carry out this mission. And in fact, we have achieved a very high score among the national QCIs, and we were ranked second, together with the proposals of Germany's, Finland's, and Ireland's. The consortium we established consists of 14 partners, and we have 6 partners from the educational domain with proven experience in quantum technologies, such as the Universities of Athens and Thessaloniki, the Foundation for Research and Technology Forth, Demokritos, the National Observatory of Athens, and the National Technical University of Athens. Moreover, our consortium includes 4 partners from the industry: Cosmote, one of the biggest telecom providers in Greece, and Motor Oil Hellas, one of the biggest energy companies. And from the SME side, we have Space Hellas and Cubitech, with recognized experience in quantum technologies. From the governmental sector, the Ministry of Digital Governance is a full partner of the HellasQCI, and we have letter of support by the Ministry of National Defense, the Greek Army, our National Intelligence Service NIS, and the Hellenic Police. We have also 2 additional partners with the status of associated partner, the coordinators of the national proposal of Luxembourg, the University of Luxembourg, and of Ireland's, the Waterfront Institute of Technology, CETU. And we have signed amicable letters of support with another 5 member states: Austria, Cyprus, Bulgaria, Malta, and Poland. The first goal of the HellasQCI is to build and deploy the national quantum communication networks. Specifically, as you can see at the topology at the right side of the slide, we will create 3 test sites: one in Athens, our capital and economic center, one in Thessaloniki in the northern Greece, and our second largest city, and one in Iraklio in Crete Island, in South Greece and the southernmost point of Europe. We will interconnect these 3 test sites with dark fiber for the distribution of the quantum key with our 3 optical ground stations in Helmos, that it is in Peloponnesos, in Holomontas in Chalkidiki, and Skinakas in Crete. In total, we will deploy more than 450 kilometers of dark fiber, and our observatories will be connected to the closest metropolitan center via trusted nodes. For Greece, the space segment is important because the optical ground stations, when they connect to I2, the European satellite with the QKD capabilities, it would be possible from the one hand to allow the communication between our metropolitan networks in Athens, Thessaloniki, and Crete, and on the other hand, they will allow the connection of Greece, of the HellasQCI, with the rest of the EuroQCI countries. When we were preparing the proposal, it was a showstopper, the cost to connect Athens with Thessaloniki via the terrestrial network. And it was impossible to connect Crete Island with our mainland due to the distances and the limit of the QKD devices. In any case, in Greece, we are very fortunate because all of our 3 telescopes are part of the ESA Secure and Laser Communication Technology program, the Skylight program, and of course other ESA programs such as Hydron and Saka, and are being upgraded for optical communication technologies that would be used, among others, for the EuroQCI space segment. The second objective of the HellasQCI is to develop and deploy the advanced quantum systems and networking technologies. Specifically, we are planning to test and deploy 3 QKD technologies: the DVQKD, CVQKD, and we will deploy single photon detectors so that the entanglement distribution tests can be done for getting into the quantum internet era. Of course, innovative technologies such as dynamic QKD for resource optimization, hybrid identification with PQC and PAF, and coexistence, similar tests as Karel showcased earlier, will be also tested. As you can see at the slide, each of our test sites will include 3 domains: the governmental domain, the industrial domain, and the educational domain. In total, we are going to deploy 12 nodes in Athens, 6 nodes in Thessaloniki, and 4 nodes in Heraklion in Crete Island. The third objective of our project, and one of the most important pillars of implementation, both for the European Union but also for our country, are the use cases. HellasQCI goal is to implement 16 advanced use cases in our test sites that are split in 4 different domains: the national security domain, the public health domain, the industry critical infrastructure and ICT domain, and the research domain. For today, I have made a small selection of the use cases in order to show you. As my first example, I have chosen the enhanced QKD resilience for the national security links. Our key objective here is to demonstrate the resilience if a link is down due to a DDoS attack or any other issue, and we can mitigate this threat using the switched QKD operation. As you can see at the slide, we have the Athens test site. At the governmental domain, we have 3 nodes connected: the National Intelligence Service, NIS, the Army, and the police. And we assume that the link between the NIS and the police fails. Then the connection between these 2 governmental nodes will be restored either through the relayed connection NIS, Army, police, or through the switched QKD connection through GRNET, NIS, GRNET, and then police. In phase 0 of our project, we have 3 phases for our project. The phase 0 is the phase that we are preparing the procurement and we are waiting for the devices to be delivered. And during this phase, we will emulate this secure ring network in the laboratories. The University of Athens, fortunately, has a pair of Toshiba DV-QKD devices that we will use during this phase. In phase 1, and it is the phase when eventually we will have the devices delivered and installed into the nodes, we will demonstrate a plethora of scenarios for interconnecting the governmental nodes. In another use case, we will demonstrate also the interdomain QKD connectivity from the governmental testbed to the industry testbed. And specifically, we will demonstrate relayed or switch the QKD link from a governmental node to Cosmote through GRNET. Another use case, we are going to explore and monitoring the tools and the control software for the QKD and the switches, and we will adapt these control interfaces for the switch, the QKD. To this end, we have already started to review existing commercial solutions for the QKD management and the encryptors, and we will define the strategy to adapt to switch the QKD. In fact, we have started to build a proof of concept with Nokia, and specifically with an SMS, a secure management server that they have, that it can act as an orchestrator between the quantum channel and the classical optical channel. Regarding now the research and industrial use cases, we are planning to demonstrate QKD over 5G and QKD for the fiber to the home, the FTTH. And among other research use cases, we will develop a quantum safe messaging and communication application. As the last example of the use case, I have chosen to show you that the one that will pave also the way towards the quantum internet in Greece. We are aiming to develop and demonstrate a novel and active entanglement distribution network. And to this end, 2 experimental active entanglement distribution stations will be permanently installed in our universities in Athens, in the University of Athens and the National Technical University of Athens, in order to be used for research and educational purposes. This state-of-the-art testbed that will use cryogenic single photon detectors and entanglement sources will allow the experimentation on the quantum teleportation concept and entanglement swapping, important element for the quantum internet. Moving now to the 4th objective of the HellasQCI project, we are aiming to provide a holistic training environment for the technical research and user staff. We are planning to organize training workshops, summer schools, and to integrate the HellasQCI training material in the master's and the undergraduate courses of the universities. We will also create an online training platform, and here is an excellent point that we can cooperate with GÉANT and what GÉANT is planning to do with the quantum trainings. The fifth objective of the HellasQCI is the cooperation with other EuroQCI member states. HellasQCI already made 7 partnerships with Austria, Luxembourg, Bulgaria, Cyprus, Poland, and Ireland national QCI proposal. And moreover, GRNET is a partner of the Petrus project, the CSA project, the Coordination and Support Action, that it is responsible for support of the EuroQCI project. And we are also participating to the GN51 GÉANT project and the Quantum Strategy Coordination Group in order to foster the synergies with our NRENs and exchange experiences and expertise. Moving now to our 3 last objective, the 6th objective is the establishment of a national quantum community in Greece that will engage all relevant stakeholders that can benefit and support the HellasQCI networks and technologies. This will allow us also to ensure a better participation into the EuroQCI ecosystem and leverage new end users for the expansion of the HellasQCI networks in the future. The 7th objective, and it is very important, is the alignment between the QKD security standard, the certification, and the regulation. And the last objective is the space segment connectivity that I have already mentioned. Speaking now of the space segment, and given this opportunity, I would like to invite you all to participate at the 6th annual Skylight Conference that will be hosted by ESA and the Greek Ministry of Digital Governance. The conference this year will take place in sunny Greece on the 15th and 16th of May in Athens. And on the 17th of May, there will be a workshop dedicated to the quantum internet at Kalavrita in Helmos Observatory. HellasQCI officials support the conference, and it would be an excellent opportunity for all of us to meet face-to-face and explore synergies of cooperation. You will also witness what the European Space Agency is doing through the programs, the Skylight, the Saga, and the Hydron, and what is deploying with the National Observatory of Athens at Aristarchos Telescope for the satellite QKD readiness. Some of you may also know that Aristarchos Telescope at Helmos is the 2nd largest telescope in Europe. It's 2.3 meters and the largest in the southeastern Europe. And it was the first telescope in Europe that demonstrated satellite data connection with AlphaSat, a geostatic satellite, at the end of 2021. Thank you for your attention. I would be glad to answer your question either now or at the Q&A session. You can see at the slide also our website that you can visit and sign up to our newsletters, and of course follow our social media. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very interesting. Are there any questions? I see nothing in the chat. I do have one question. I have seen you showed that one slide with many use cases, and you said that this is just a part of them. And I was wondering if you are also considering the use case of a mobile free space node, because it would probably be practical in Greece to be able to move a mobile station to an island whenever needed, and then just move it somewhere else if needed somewhere else.
Even if we have a lot of use cases to demonstrate, this one is not part of, because we have already these 3 OGSs.
I see.
We want also, for these OGSs to be able to connect to the satellite QKD and TIGL1. So there is it's a long way ahead of us in order to reach this point. Of course, Greece has a huge number of islands, so mobile node, it would be very interesting. And also, after discussions with the military, it's very important to have also mobile nodes because we have our islands, we have our military bases, etc. But the important thing now, and these years, the experimental phase of the EuroQCI is at least to reach the point that to see an OGS to be able to connect and to exchange the QKD payload with a satellite. I think this is very challenging, and there is a long way ahead of us.
Oh yes, definitely. I mean, don't
Yes.
understand me wrong. This you have a totally full plate already. I was just wondering, looking at Greece, if this was part of it. So thank you very much. Thank you
You're
very much
welcome.
again for doing this on your holiday. And we will make the recording available. I will put it as part of the agenda on the event page, where you can also find the other PDFs. So thank you very much again. So
Thank
let's
you.
now go to our next speaker, Elisabeth Andriantsarazo from CESNET. Elisabeth?
Thank you. I will share my screen.
Okay.
Go. Share. Can you see it?
Looks good. Yeah, go ahead.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Elisabeth and I work for CESNET, which is a Czech organization. And today I will talk about use cases of quantum entanglement. And the way I want to approach this presentation is more from a physicist's point of view, because I am focusing more on the physics than on the engineering part. So I might not be able to explain like everything from the engineering point of view, but yeah, let's go for it. Okay. Well, does it work or does it not work? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so first things first, I will talk about all the possible use cases that we can have for the phenomenon we know as entanglement. I want to go just like quickly through all the possible applications that I found that exist to this day. I also want to talk about the entanglement itself, meaning what types of entanglement we have and what the differences are and what are they useful for and what options are on table for us for Czech Republic, QCI Czech Republic, and for CESNET specifically. So one of the most interesting applications I was able to find was first exploration of fundamental quantum physics. So just the sole fact that entanglement is a very strange phenomenon that definitely we all know about. We can actually prove that the local realistic theories that were on the table prior to quantum physics don't really hold up anymore to our knowledge. Entanglement is a great probe to the quantum world itself, and it is a great probe to test our knowledge and to find out what is really going on behind the scenes. Then, of course, the quantum communication, which you all know very, very well. So I don't think I really need to talk about it too much. But what is really interesting is the use of multipartite entanglement. I will talk about this afterwards, and hybrid entanglement, which actually proved to be very noise resistant. And as far as I'm concerned, I was able to find almost twice as longer possibilities in terms of like length for QKD implementation. So that was also very interesting. Then, of course, we have quantum teleportation, which might be needed, which will be needed in order for us to do, to be able to, again, prolong the quantum key distribution and not really clone, but be able to take an information that is inside the entangled particles and be able to send it to another system somewhere else. Then, of course, we have the quantum metrology, which is a precise measurement technique, basically, that was able to surpass the short noise limit. And then we have, of course, quantum computing and quantum simulations. Okay, so if you take a look at this picture, there are several types of entanglement, as we can see. So what does this mean? So first, we have degrees of freedom. This can, of course, be basically anything. It can be spin, it can be polarization, which we all know, it can be path, it can be frequency, it can be energy. It really can be basically, you can entangle particles basically through any degree of freedom if you know the technique how to do it. Then, of course, we have several particle types that we can entangle. Of course, we know photon case, but we, of course, have, for example, trapped ions or even atoms, Rydberg atoms, or even molecules. Then we have several entanglement type itself. So we have the bipartite, which we all know. This is just like a two-dimensional system, which is basically just two particles. Or we have multipartite, so we can have several particles entangled between each other, and they don't really have to be entangled like in a link, like one after each other. They can even be entangled, between themselves. So there are really many ways that we can combine this type of thing. And then we even have the hyper entanglement, which combines several different type of entanglement through different degrees of freedom. So as you can see, there are many ways to entangle particles, and it really is not an easy task to probe all of them and to figure out which one of them would be good for technical applications. So what options are on the table? So if we talk about, let's say, our research, what we actually want to do is to look into bulk-based SPDC systems, which, again, I suppose you all know, these are the type of crystals, nonlinear crystals that create mostly bipartite, sometimes multipartite entanglement. And we are actually looking into correlation between photons. Yeah, it is a photonic entanglement, but we would also like to probe entanglement not only between polarization degrees of freedom, but also maybe path, but mostly time and frequency bin, which research has shown that this type of hyper entanglement can really help with not only with the channel capacity, but also, in terms of the length of the QKD link. So first things first, we want to offer a reliable generation and distribution of entanglement, which many of you, again, definitely know. We also, as I said, we want to make the information capacity and speed higher with the usage of either multi or even hyper entanglement. And what we want to do for sure is the L-fiber alternatives, and we have started to work on that first. Our offer is definitely interesting for research institutions and universities, but also to our government agencies, specifically to the army, and also to the state themselves. Itself. Sorry. Right. Okay, so let's talk about CESNET. So as you can see on the map, there are several different type of fibers that link Prague itself, Brno itself, Ostrava, all the bigger cities in this country, but it also provides a link between the cities themselves. So right now we are focusing on metropolitan areas, specifically on Prague, because CESNET is based here. And we were able to deploy QKD in lab with key rate, that's the word I'm searching for 86 bits per second, and error rate for at about 5%. So it's the first start. It's not perfect. We are definitely looking into things how to manage it better. But mainly our main problem is, since we are focusing on all fiber solution, we are really trying to eliminate the free space links that need to be put between, if you have, let's say, a fiber input, a fiber pump, then let's say you need to put it through a beam splitter or a polarizing beam splitter. Usually this is done in free space, as far as I'm concerned. And what we are trying to do is like put it all in fiber, which would be very compact, but we definitely need to account for polarization drifts and dispersion effects, which happen inside the fibers. So we are also looking into that. And then after this is done, so we have 2 labs in Prague. We are trying to make the quantum key distribution happen between them. But then we would also like to focus, to link 2 cities, which would mean either upgrading to the multi-entangled source, or maybe try twin field QKD, which is also very interesting. So this research is ongoing in 3 projects. It's our private research, which we are doing in collaborations with our universities. It's the national, and it's the QCI. All right, so the next one, right. So I was also trying to look into more possibilities how to use entanglement. So once we are really able to produce entangled state with high fidelity, and maybe even upgrade to the multi-entanglement, what can we do next? Can we do something something a little bit different than from, let's say, the QKD? So I was really interested in the super dense coding, which is a technique where you can say where you can basically put 2 bits of information into 1 qubit by sending a priori entangled qubits. It's a very interesting method. I really haven't looked into the specifics, but it's definitely something that is on the table. Then, of course, the entanglement distribution, which would be good for our institution and our research parties. And then maybe even photonic quantum computing. But as far as I'm concerned, nobody is really sure if maybe, you know, if somebody here focuses on that, then maybe you can correct me. But as far as when I did my research, I wasn't really able to find a good proof that the entanglement is needed for the speed up in the quantum computing that we are searching for, let's say, in terms of the Shor's algorithm or so. But again, maybe somebody will correct me. Maybe I'm not right about it. So this is something that definitely is on the table, but yeah, we aren't really sure if entanglement would be needed, and if it's really practical to do it this way. Because of course, the photonic way of quantum computing is very needy in terms of space and resources and stuff like this. All right, thank you for your attention. And here are some of my references.
Hey, thank you very much, Elisabeth, for showing us or giving us an insight into this interesting experimental work that you do. Are there any questions? There's one comment from Theo. Entanglement is not sufficient. Entangling gates are necessary.
Right.
Thank you, Theo.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much again. If there's no other question, let's then go to our next speaker. It is Eduardo Jacob from the University of the Basque Country, and he will present a very interesting new project to us.
Well, I am Eduardo Jacob from the University of the Basque Country, and I'm going to present a project that has started some months ago. It's a 2-year project, and well, we have this is a project that is co-funded by the Next Generation funds from the UE, and through the Spanish Plan for Recuperation, Transformation and Resiliency, which is part of the Spanish ministry, and also co-funded by the Basque government through the ICUR strategy, and is part of the complementary plan for communication, quantum communications of the Spanish government. I will present first some of the background. At the university, we have a center, a distributed center for quantum activities, which gathers all the activity that is done in this. You have some information there. The page is a bit outdated, but well, just to say, we are around 89 members in every kind of quantum activity, and we are part of the Basque Country ICUR initiative. I mean, this is the official way in which the university participates in this. My research group is especially different in the fact that we are telecom engineers. Our expertise is in networking, and we work in aspects that are not covered by any other member of Quantum Center. Well, as a result, we see that it's clear that we expect an impact on society in the medium term. There are many enabling technologies for applications and communication for the future in security and every kind of things. And there was full support of national and regional governments, co-funded with the NextGen EU funds. We really noticed from the university that there was a need for platforms to enable quantum experimentation. Part of the activity we already started before it. I mean, in a certain way, we have our own experimental facility. We have we are in the process of acquiring one pair of QKD equipment in a public offering, and we also got that we will say later, as part of the SareQuant project, we got another pair of equipment. Just to give an idea of our infrastructure, it's distributed in 3 sites, which are roughly separated 20 kilometers. We have direct access to the I2Basque, which is the Basque NREN, to Rediris, which is the Spanish NREN, and also access to GÉANT. For example, we are already linked for the GP4L lab. We are also part of the SLICE's research infrastructure, which is an S3 infrastructure which deals with the infrastructure for computing and communication experimental studies. Well, there was a very recent announcement that there was a Basque Country initiative named Basque Quantum, BasqueQ, that brings, between other things, a quantum computer installed in San Sebastian, in Donostia, which would be the 6th 127 qubit computer in the world and the second in Europe. This computer will be managed by IkerBasque, which is the Basque Foundation for Science. For all of this, there are many reasons to work in the quantum communications. And in fact, SareQuant means Sare is the buzzword for networks. So this, in a certain way, show our commitment to experiment in quantum communications. This project has two activities which have their own objectives and their own outcomes. The first activity is moved toward the quantum internet. And the outcome would be to the design of a quantum infrastructure integrated with the traditional NREN one. The second activity is related to the development of tools to enable the use of quantum services, which will be the development of QKD-based security services that we have been looking right now. Well, the idea is, I mean, most of you already know that we can say that starting with QKD is the way to get experience on quantum communications. And in fact, this is the way we are trying to follow. In a sense, at the highest stage, we would be speaking about distributed quantum computing. That would be the long-term objective. Working with QKD for engineers, at least, is very good because, at least from the interface point of view, there are many standards and there are many SDOs which are already working on it. So, I mean, we need to invent, but at least from the point of view of interfaces and compatibility, we are somewhat not always covered. Well, let us take a look at our infrastructure. The Basque Country is a small country, it's a small location. Just to give you an idea, we have around 160 kilometers in line from the two most distance point. And well, this is the map of our, I think it's a bit old regarding the activity, but I can see you that most of the links are of very reasonable length. This means that there are, I think, only one link which is over 100 kilometers. So this means that experimenting is quite easy, at least from the point of view of infrastructure to be deployed inside. We need to work on studying the infrastructure because I2Basque, which is also managed by ICAR-Basque, has been developing I2Basque just as a pure communication infrastructure for research and education, but not from the point of view of research. So this means that until now, for I2Basque, there was no low-level information about the link. So we are in the process of getting a clear view of the techniques used and the technologies used. We know there are WDM, we know there are pure gigabit Ethernet over fiber link. There are many things. One good thing of this setup is that 2 of our nodes of our SN4E nodes are located in 2 points of presence of I2Basque, which is very interesting because from this to this we have already said there are 20 kilometers. And the second good thing is the quantum computer is also located near, on one node. So this means that we have very good tools to work. Our objective, as I showed you, study the NREN infrastructure to be how it can be adapted to support quantum experimentation. This has already been done at a greater extent by other presenters, but well, this is one of our results. We will integrate SN4E in the experiment because it's quite easy for us to work on site. The second activity is, as you expect, to work on QKD-based secure services. For this, our idea is to use a different technology. I mean, we have already this continuous variable, but we're also taking a look at a discrete variable, and also entanglement services. Well, the use cases we are targeting, the official one, the one that was more interested to our stakeholders that were in a certain way, the Basque government, the official PKI from the Basque government, was securing distributed data centers with virtualization. And from our side, we will also add an additional use case, which is the integration in 5G and 6G networks. We have other ongoing related research activities, which are one strategic project in quantum devices, in which we are working for the integration on low-level technologies in new telecom use cases. For example, the use of QKD in industrial verticals and also in telecom access networks, trying to lower the cost of the equipment. And as you understand, we are also involved in the quantum communication work packets of GÉANT. Well, if you have any questions, I am here or by email to share with you any comment.
Thank you very much, Eduardo. I did not know that SARE was the word for network. You picked a really good name for the project.
Yes.
Yeah. Any questions? I don't see a question for you, Eduardo. I see one for Theo in the chat. So thank you, Eduardo. then I would like to thank you all again for making this a nice celebration of the World Quantum Day, and for coming and for joining even on a holiday. And I wish you a nice Easter holiday, and I wish you a nice weekend for those of you who have just a regular weekend. And I will make everything available and the recording as well on the event page.